Let's go to District 56, House race. This is for the seat of the retiring. Hard to say retiring because he's 27 years old.
Moving on.
Peter Farrell, on to bigger and better things. He's had enough of making $17,000 and working 100 hours a week. He's done with that. So this is a Republican district. Whoever the Republican is going to win in November. And there's 6 candidates in there. And I was at a forum last night in Mineral, Virginia. Mineral in Louisa County, an hour from Richmond, right?
It's a good haul west, almost to Charlottesville.
I know, and I was very impressed there because they had an old train station. So at some point in time, a passenger train stopped in Mineral.
Mineral was a big town at one point.
It's a big town, right? So I was there for the put on by the Mineral Chamber of Commerce, population 12. But it was a big turnout last night, and I got to rattle these candidates off. Help me, Aaron. Matt Pinsker, John McGuire, Graven Craig,
George Goodwin,
Surya Dakar,
Dr. Dakar, and Pendergrast.
Yes.
Those were the 5. So I had the winner of the forum. I'll give you 1, 2, 3. I had the winner of the forum last night was Dr. Dakar. Second place, I had Matt Pinsker. Third place, George Goodwin. Also, Graven Craig was not there, so he sent a stand-in.
Ooh.
And I think
in his home county.
He was not there. He was they said he had a court hearing at night. So some guy, Smith, went. So Graven Craig was not there.
Do you have a theme song from Night Court?
Night Court. They said he was Night Court, yeah, so he wasn't there. So the stand-in was his law partner or something.
Well, he might have skipped the forum, but he certainly was there at the Harrisonburg heist.
He was at the Harrisonburg heist. He was isn't he the guy that stole all our delegates?
Yeah, he was the chairman of the committee that screwed over Trump's delegates, yep.
Not good. In fact, I've kind of purged that out of my, exorcised that out of my mind, that whole Harrisonburg debacle. Okay, now, we got to go to Saxman because, Saxman, this is in your district. You live in the 56th
I'm getting the mail, and they're knocking on my door.
So tell us your take on it.
Having been in a contest for the nomination, 6-way is hard to predict. But from what I see,
28% wins, right?
Yes, that's a great goal for any candidate. Pinsker's got a great ground game. He's got good mail. Dakar has put together some decent mail. Haven't seen a lot of action on the doors so much. Nothing from Goodwin, nothing from Pendergrast, nothing from Craig.
What about McGuire?
I've seen some activity. I've seen some yard signs go up. They've been in the neighborhoods, knocking on doors. Again, and McGuire's been heavy on the bio in his mail pieces. Pinsker's been doing more policy. Navy SEAL, great stuff. Again, I don't know what the point of diminishing returns is on the bio. You have to translate it and get people to say, yeah, I'll come out and support you. So, and are you touching on the issues? I thought Pinsker has done some good things on social media where he's talking directly to the voters saying, I'm not attacking my Republican friends, I'm attacking Tom Perriello's tax plan. I think that's smart. I think it's smart when you do that. I think if you're over 1,000 views like he is on some of his videos, he's making some penetration in the marketplace. Now, if a smart media, social media manager can pinpoint that and localize that to the electorate, it's even more beneficial. And then ramp up your advertising buys there, because I think it's more effective, especially with video, than direct mail pieces. And I think direct mail has a point of diminishing returns in campaigns, whereas before it was just papering mailboxes. But we get so much mail in the suburbs; it's insane.
Pinsker grows on you. Like at the forum last night, and I'll just go over these candidates. We'll get everybody's comments one by one, and I'll go in line for the way they were seated. Matt Pinsker, I thought he came in second last night. I thought he did a pretty good job. Started out a little slow, but he kind of grows on you. There's something about him at the end of the day. Okay, this is a guy of some substance, right? He's very intelligent, and he knows the issues, very well spoken. But he had a piece last night where he talked about, waiting tables. And he said something. He said, I'm the only person here that signed both the front of a check and the back of a check. Not a lot of people have done that, so I have a little bit of a different perspective. So I thought based on that, he seemed to be a pretty formidable candidate, Aaron.
And, I mean, of course, I'm, in the interest of disclosure, I'm helping out Matt's campaign. But we're the only ones with a real message. We're talking about the issues. We're talking about sanctuary cities. We're talking about government regulations. You know, John McGuire and I.
He never brought sanctuary cities up last night. He should have done that.
Well, it's a jobs problem.
Nobody brought it up.
You can't get all your stuff in the debate.
Well, you get an opening statement and a closing statement, but he never brought it up. All right, let's go to Dr. Dakar. I thought he won the forum last night. If I was there and I had to vote last night, I don't know any of the candidates, I'd have voted for him. Tell you what was very effective is he's hard to understand, so you got to get past that. Now, I stutter, so obviously I understand that. So there's a built-in bias for somebody trying to speak. But what was very effective last night is he brought in real-life examples. Like everything he said, let me give you an example. And then he would go to somebody new, somebody who's practiced, somebody, and names. And when Medicare expansion came up and the Democrats were saying, you know, there is no fraud, there is no this. And he's like, look, you know, I got a 15-year-old patient who got pregnant. And he's like, now she's on Medicaid. And, you know, you got to be accountable over this. So she says to me in the chair, well, how's your baby? Fine. She says, well, you know, I'm pregnant again. And he says, well, you're 16. You already have a baby. She's like, well, if I can get 4 children, then I max out on Medicare, welfare, housing. And so he was bringing those stories up. And he did that. I don't want to get into it, but it was like he did that every time he said something. He had a real life story. I thought that was very effective.
It's a very effective story. The question is, does it get out? Right now, it's in Mineral, Louisa County.
Well, and he told us. Well, let's face it.
Hang on a tick.
Sorry.
You can have a compelling story. You can have a compelling bio like John McGuire. You can have your great personal story of Matt Pinsker who waited tables. If you don't get it out, it doesn't matter. And this is the problem with a lot of campaigns, and especially when you've got 3 weeks to go, you have to maximize your impact and be talking to voters and be able to capsulize those votes, that message to the voters to actually get them to move to the polls to you. Surya Dakar is a fantastic man, great story. Does it get out? And that's what the compelling. That's what campaigns are about. Is getting your message to the voter that says, I'm talking to Andrew right now. Here's my great story. Will you go vote for me now? That's the lever in the game that a lot of candidates and campaigns don't utilize.
Okay.
There's a point of, it doesn't matter if you can't. If no one hears
it out.
No one, if no one hears it, doesn't matter.
And he got it out to me because I happened to be there. Yeah. And now I'm talking about it.
That's huge.
But had I not been there, nobody would be talking about
right.
it. Certainly we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right.
And there were 100 people there, 60,
right.
70, that's it. But I thought he was effective. All right, let's get to John McGuire. And I'm going to go to Andrew here. Great resume. Navy SEAL, broke his neck, came back. They said he would never walk again. Wow, it's just a phenomenal story. And, you know, you first meet him, and he's very personable. He's a great speaker. He's a paid motivator, and great story, and made a lot of money, and great. All great. But then by the second half of the forum, he was saying the same thing over and over about his resume and very light on specifics. And, like, I started out saying I would probably vote for him. But then at the end, like, he didn't close the deal. And he didn't close it. There was, like, nothing there. And so if he was my candidate, like, at the end of it, I would have had to stop at a Wawa to get a sandwich. I was hungry. I didn't get enough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
He didn't close the deal.
You'll see, and that's why everyone, you can have a compelling story and a compelling bio. If there's not a reason to vote that gets that extra hitch, like in Surya Dakar's case, I think one of his assets is the fact that he's not a white Anglo-Saxon conservative Republican. He's not a middle-aged white guy. And what you say is like, look, I bring a different perspective to the Republican Party. Please vote for me. The Republican Party needs this. Then you have the Republican Party members going, oh, we should probably vote for someone who can be not just like us and transcend us and get us into different segments of the growing Virginia electorate. That's a compelling reason to vote for you. Because what's the differentiator among 5 other guys? Not much.
Well, I think what you're seeing, too, is the campaigns and the candidates, you know, what do they think they need to do to win? How are they going to piece this together? And with McGuire, his family's very well known in Louisa County. He's been there for a long time. He highlights his military experience. His brother was Commonwealth's attorney in Goochland with Tom Garrett. I think he's now Commonwealth's attorney out in Louisa County. So you know, his SEAL team training, from what I've heard, has been very transformational to people that have gone through it, and he's got a lot of acolytes that have come out of that. And that's kind of what he's hanging his hat on, is his resume, what you were talking about, not necessarily what he's going to do. And he sounds like it came off a little scripted, and that's always tough when you have a difficult time connecting in a longer form.
It was like a great start. It was like if you were in a horse race, he got way out ahead. Yeah. And then there was just nothing there.
You got to close.
And he didn't close the deal.
He's got a great bio. He runs a good business. But, in his business today, he doesn't know anything about the issues, never done anything for the Republican Party. I mean, this is a race for the House of Delegates, not the Biggest Loser. He's a fitness expert. He helps people in that manner.
In any campaign, there's an and then what. In a situation like Emily Brewer, and then what? And then what is she's a young, millennial, female delegate. I mean, but you have to bring that to the consciousness level of the voter and say, we need that in the General Assembly because we need a female voice on life issues because that's where you have to make it utilize.
And that's where Dakar closed the deal last night because
especially on healthcare issues.
He was saying, send me there. I'm not a lawyer. Right, you got plenty of those.
It's a huge stone to lay down.
I have a perspective that no one else has.
Exactly.
I am gonna, and then when regulations came up, he had like specific regulations. He said, "Here's a specific regulation that's stupid. I'll get rid of it."
And he could say, "Look,
that's why it was very effective."
The Republicans need, if he wanted to close the deal, you say, "Look, we have Dr. O'Bannon and Dr. Donovan. You need another doctor in there in the caucus so that we have a health care caucus of professionals who can carry a message." And a dentist that Republicans want to have doctors going to the General Assembly and saying, here's what we need to do in health care.
And he had a good story.
Because people listen to their doctors.
Because he said he came here and he worked as a dishwasher in a cafeteria.
Wow.
And then, put himself through school. So he's got a good story, but he closed the deal. All right, let's get to George Goodwin last night. We'll start with Andrew. George doing the been there, done that. His most effective moment last night, because he is a legislative aide, is he gave an example of constituent service.
George is
okay. In other words, he gave an example of a tow truck driver that was getting screwed because of some tow truck driving bill. Mm-hmm. And so he gave a specific example of how he helped that tow truck driver. But other than that, it was a lot of, I'm going to make the sausage and here's how it's made, and inside baseball stuff that I don't think has mass appeal.
I don't think it does. And George would be a great candidate if this were a 2-person or a 3-person primary, because he has the rural shtick down. He is a farmer. He's out on a tractor baling hay. But Goochland County's only 17% of that district, where you have Louisa is 40, Henrico's 36. And George isn't – I don't know that he's going to be able to break out and make any inroads, certainly not into suburban Henrico. And Louisa has 2 or 3 candidates out there already. So I just don't see a path forward for George. I think he's a great candidate. He certainly has the most experience. But I don't see how he rises to the top in a 6-way primary.
Again, it's an underutilized asset if you can't show how the asset helps you, the voter. If I come to you and say, I know how this works, but if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't matter. So if he's out there at these forums saying, I have all the experience, I can show you how the committee system works, but if he can't translate to, and it helps you because, specifically, whether it's on healthcare, education, transportation, whatever.
He did that with the tow truck driver. He gave an example of
But he has to point to someone in the audience and say, look, you sitting right there is going to benefit from me being in the General Assembly over these guys.
He could do that.
Yeah, and that's the point. That's my point. It's an underutilized asset.
So who does that leave, Matt? Pendergrass, we're not going to talk about him. He'll get 1%. Who does that leave? Who did we skip?
Well, we briefly touched on Graven. But.
Okay, well, he was not there, so I have no comment on that. All I know is that he was the delegation chairman at the Harrisonburg heist, and he couldn't stand up to Cuccinelli, and he's part of that whole crowd. I don't know what look, guilty by association, right? Because he tried to tell me in a phone conversation, I had nothing to do with that. Well, you were the chairman. I mean, either you're the chairman or you're not, and if you're the chairman, don't tell me you didn't have anything to do with it. That means you were the chairman, you can't lead, have no power.
That's your job.
Meantime, you're a big-time lawyer, litigator that kept saying over and over, I'm a litigator, he's a litigator, I'm a litigator, he's a litigator, he's a litigator, he's a litigator. Well, if you're going to be a litigator, then how come we got screwed in Harrisonburg and you took our delegates away because Cuccinelli showed up?
Right.
I don't think that works. But again, inside baseball, that's me and a handful of people.
And frankly, if you don't have time for your voters, how are you going to have time for your constituents? If he had to send a delegate to the debate.
Well, that's harsh. He had a hearing.
Maybe it was at night.
Well, they said they were backed up. That's harsh. I mean,
they backed up on you.
To the voter, it stands out.
Yeah.
It did stand out.
I think Andrew's point is you got to find a way to be there.
Maybe he should have sent his stand-in to the hearing.
He does have law partners.
I don't think that typically works.
His law
but
partner.
again, going back to these various assets, I think we glossed over, and we don't want to, on Matt Pinsker, who's an attorney. He should not have that thrust against him, no more attorneys, when in fact the General Assembly could probably use a few extras, because right now they're putting people on the Courts of Justice Committee who aren't attorneys, and they're writing law with people who are not familiar with criminal or civil law. So Matt has to understand that that's his asset. And you should say, you need an attorney in the General Assembly because you need more attorneys in the General Assembly who understand law, because it's getting that complicated. And it's not a bad thing to have an attorney in the General Assembly.
Well, the other thing is I mean, Matt has the most unique resume out of everybody, because not only he's not just an attorney, he's not just he served in the military, captain in the Army Reserves. He's an adjunct professor at VCU teaching Homeland Security and teaching training for law enforcement. Actually, literally wrote the book on the textbook on Homeland Security that they're using at VCU now and other places. And and the other thing is talk about, Chris mentioned that Docker is a little different than the average Republican. Matt's a little different than the average Republican because he's a young guy in the mold of Peter Farrell, and he's Jewish. He's a Jewish man who fought for the Red Cross when he was at William and Mary. So there's this, the totality of the guy is the most compelling thing.
That was a good story you told, the William Minister. He grows on you. I mean, there's no question about it. If you meet McGuire and Pinsker and you just shake their hands like I did, I mean, I'd met I think Pinsker before, but you shake their hands, McGuire stands out. No question about it. He's got the whole package going. But then at the end of 2 hours, you kind of want to vote for Matt because he kind of grows on you. It's hard to say. It's hard to put. He's
definitely a tortoise in a hair race. I mean, he's definitely.
I think he's got a shot.
He's a grinder. He's that guy. He's that guy in baseball that gives you remarkably all of a sudden 8 innings. You're like, where'd that come from? Like Jamie Moyer, the guy just grinds it out.
Yeah.
What is Dakar though? Is he an immigrant? Did he come to the?
Yeah.
I think you sell it. I mean, that's a differentiator in the election too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk about tough immigration issues, have an immigrant talk about it. It's an easier sell for
whether he
Republicans.
Connects. Or, I'm just going on one forum. I don't live in the area. I don't know if he connects.
Well, and he's got name ID. He's a tested candidate before. He ran a year or two ago in a special election for school board out in Western Henrico, where this district overlaps. So folks are familiar with him.
He ran out.
No, he ran a great campaign,
count him out.
and he lost well.
He ran a terrible campaign.
He ran a campaign.
He ran a positive campaign. Let me say that.
Well, he didn't. Well,
all right, you guys are going to predict a winner.
I mean, I went to the polls that day, and they were just. I mean, his team was just standing there and weren't engaging the voters as they came up to vote. And you're like,
you guys are going to predict the winners, right? Because I have no idea who's going to win this race. It seems to me I know who's not going to win, and that's Pendergrass. He is not going to win. But you guys are going to predict the winners. Let's start with the easy one. Let's start with Aaron. Obviously, you have a vested interest, so you're going to predict Pinsker.
Well, listen, I know what we're doing. I know what the other campaigns are doing. Matt Pinsker's going to win the thing. We're talking about it being a 6-way. It's really a 3-way. It's between Matt, McGuire, and Graven. But Matt's going to win.
Okay, you like Matt.
I think
Saxman, you're in the district.
I'm in the district, and I think I agree with Aaron that, to my knowledge, from what I have seen in my interactions with the campaigns, I think Matt's run a better campaign to date. Now, whether they close it out and anyone knows it is two different things.
The fact that Matt is Jewish, help him, hurt him, or no difference?
I don't think those things matter.
It doesn't matter.
Did anyone know that before Aaron said it?
No, I had no idea. If you were voting, now you're a voter. If the election were held today, you would vote for who?
I would never say that on the air.
Okay, thank you. Let's go. So you,
I can't. I'm in a position where I can't.
I got you. You predict Matt.
I think there's a top 3, but I put Dakar in the top 3 versus Graven Craig. So I'd see it as you said Matt, McGuire, and I would put Dakar in there. And how it shakes out, I have no idea because it's a 6-way for crying out loud.
Well, who's going to win?
I don't know. It's a 6-way. It's a 5-way, really, with Pendergrass out of the.
You got to make a prediction.
I don't
make it.
No. Pinsker. Close.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm not in the district, but I would go with Pinsker. The folks that I know that are in the district are saying, I don't know. I hear Pinsker's name a lot. He's the one that seems to be rising to the top out of out of the population base between Henrico and Louisa. On paper, McGuire ought to win it, but his fundraising is abysmal. I don't see him having a lot of activity, and I know what Pinsker's doing. So I think
this is one of those races where yard signs matter, because people are going to be going to the polls in the primary anyway, and they're going to, who's that guy? I see his name. He must be popular, so I'll vote with him. That's a psychological advantage.
Do yard signs matter
in this kind of election? Absolutely.
All right, we got to go. So Pinsker. I think McGuire's got the potential to close, and if he can figure out how to close a deal, he's got the biggest upside, and I think he's a guy to watch.